Hello, planet Earth. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730.
My BFF Jill 730.
I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations as always. You've made your way to the Buffington Post.
You are invited!
Today I'll be continuing my Season 9 coverage of the Buffyverse with the Season 9 finale of Angel and Faith. It's issue number 25, What You Want, Not What You Need, Part 5. But before we get into it, previously on Angel and Faith.
Throughout Season 9, Angel, with the help of Faith, has been trying to resurrect Rupert Giles, who he of course killed when he was all possessed by Twilight. So yay, we brought Rupert back from the dead. Unfortunately, he's now like 12 years old and there's nothing we can do about it, but hey, he's back! Also back is Whistler, who we met way back in Season 2 of Buffy. He's this ancient demon who, tries to keep the balance of good and evil, light and dark, and all this good stuff, and now that there's no more magic in the world, he needs to reintroduce magic into the world in order to restore balance, because otherwise the world will die. The way that he has been trying to go about this is that he has collected all of these different magical items, which still retain their mystical properties, and with the help of Pearl and Nash, has ground them down into their, base form, and he's basically created this magic virus bomb plague thing. And sure, it's going to reintroduce magic to the world, but it's also going to kill, a third of the population of the planet. So now it's all hands on deck to try and go and stop Whistler, right? Well, Nadira, this vampire slayer whose Slayer sisters got all massacred by Twilight, Pearl, and Nash, she finally, got her retribution, she got her revenge on Pearl and Nash. She killed Nash, but only after he, totally mutilated her entire left side, and so the cost of revenge is pretty high, you know? So Nash is dead, Pearl has fled, and now it's basically Whistler with this magical virus bomb magic plague, and Angel in the last issue cornered him, and it was a big standoff to see what they were made of, and that's where we are now.
That's what you need to know, and so without further ado, let's jump into Angel and Faith Season 9, issue number 25, the finale. It's What You Want, Not What You Need, Part 5. Here we go.
The time has come!
Just when you think you've settled down and you feel like you're almost home, just when the wheels stop spinning round, love sinks in with the plan of its own. Love comes in unexpected places, life turns in unexpected ways. I swear we laugh at these days. Love comes in unexpected places. Life turns in unexpected ways. Just when you think you're alone, maybe we're almost home. Maybe we're almost home. Maybe we're almost home.
So the issue opens up and we're having this standoff between Whistler and Angel. They're kind of wrestling over the magical orb, and Whistler's saying, yeah, a lot of people are going to die. There's no getting around that, and the only thing that you're doing is making sure that you're going to die too, Angel. Whistler's like, oh, it's all got to be done for the balance, for the greater good. And so Faith comes in and she's like, balance this, motherfucker, but he just handles her, okay? So Whistler goes chasing after the orb because, of course, he's fumbled it away again, and Angel's like, okay, you know what I think? I think losing magic threw you off of your balance, Whistler. I think you're the one who's not in control of yourself. Angel's like, you want this orb? I'm gonna give it to you. So Final Form Whistler has these, great big horn antler majiggers, and Angel says, okay, you want this magic so much? Here, I'm gonna give it back to you. And he, smashes the orb against one of Whistler's horns, and it releases all of this, light and magic into the atmosphere, okay? And Whistler, because he has this, concentrated dose of magic, directly upon him, is able to, balance himself out and go back into his, normal form that we know him by. And Angel's saying, see? Now you look like the Whistler that I used to know. It seems to me like you just needed magic for your balance. So look at yourself, guy. Look at really what you've done. And Whistler's looking around at what he's done, and Faith comes upon Nadira, who's still alive, even though the mutilation and whatnot. And Angel's like, see? Is any kind of balance worth all of this carnage that you've created? Really? So Faith's talking to Nadira, and, same conversation, basically. Faith is like, hey, you did it. You got your revenge, girl. And Nadira's like, oh, shit, look at my life. It wasn't worth it, was it? So Rupert suggests that Whistler create an energy field powerful enough to basically hold in this crazy magic bomb virus thing so that it won't go nuclear and affect everybody. But basically what happens is Whistler says if he does that, it'll take all the magic that he's got and he'll be drained and jonesing for the magic again, and it'll start this whole cycle over. But there's one way that Whistler can stop the bomb from reaching everyone and just going nuclear all over the world. And he says, I'm always going on about how in the big moments you gotta prove who you really are, and so far, I look like a dick, but I'm actually going to take this orb and surround myself in a very powerful force field. And of course, the orb explodes. And yay, it didn't take out like a third of the world's population, but Whistler, who just kind of redeemed himself, is like a smoldering, ashy mess, okay? So, Nadira's laying on the ground dying, Whistler's laying on the ground dying, and he's like, oh my gosh, thank you, Angel, you reminded me of what things are really all about, like, stop serving the balance and just do what's right for a change. I wanted you to do that, but it turns out you helped me to realize that for myself, so thanks. And Whistler's talking to Angel about how he tried to, do these very extreme measures to save the world, but what he ended up doing was just, destroying everything that made the world so special and so wonderful and, worthy of his protection. And Angel's listening to all this, and, he's known Whistler for a really long time, and Whistler completely changed his life and gave him this purpose. So, Whistler's kind of been the bad guy all season, but Angel doesn't want to see this guy die. And Whistler talks about the fact that before you can go trying to save the balance of the world, you really have to find the balance in yourself, and that's something that Angel has to now go and do for himself, and Whistler dies. But we still got a lot of people, like, magically transformed and in pain and, like, mutilated all over the place, and so our crew is going to go and try and help. So after the initial carnage has kind of settled down, we see that there are all kinds of different transformees from this, like, crazy magic. We've got this guy with wings, we've got a guy who's been turned into a centaur, we've got a chick who's been turned into a gorgon, and it's just crazy, like, the magic anomalies are just everywhere, okay? We get Angel and Alistair chatting about Pearl and how she seems to have been weakened and in hiding after what happened to Nash, and Angel says, yeah, she might be gone, but experience of mine says that it's never that easy, and Pearl's definitely coming back. So Alistair, he's kind of like a student of magic, and he knows about Whistler and how Whistler performed this really grand role for the world, which is maintaining this balance, and he's like, who's gonna do that now? And Angel says nobody is. It's up to us. Like, we are going to have to maintain that balance for ourselves and muddle through somehow. So as Angel is on his way to go and meet up with Giles and Faith, he passes this news reporter who is interviewing Sophronia and Lavinia, who were, of course, the first ones on the ground, like, trying to help these people. And the news reporter's like, oh, how did you do it? You were so brave. Like, weren't you afraid that you'd be, like, hurt or affected by this magic? And Sophronia and Lavinia are like, oh no, that's just us. We don't ever think of ourselves. We're always trying to help others. That's just who we are, Bob's your uncle. So after this, we find out that Nadira is alive and more or less stable and maybe gonna be okay. And she had been mutilated on this whole, like, half of her, but the magic that's in the, like, air around this place is, like, starting to kind of, like, infect and transform her as well. But we don't really know what's happening to her. Although, really, I should say it's less to do with the magic that's, like, out there and more to do with the fact that Faith kind of rubbed the magical orb all over this kind of left side of Nadira after she got mutilated trying to kill her. Yeah, so thanks, Faith, for whatever consequences may come of that. Giles is having this conversation with Faith where she's basically trying to return his house and his money and all these things that were given to her because Giles died and now he's not dead. And he's trying to insist that he set Faith up with, like, some kind of, annual stipend or something like this. And Faith and he are just kind of going back and forth, and Angel doesn't want to be in the middle of it. So Angel's like, yeah, it looks like Faith and I are going to have to find a new place to live, right? And then Giles kind of excuses himself because he's like, I think I should let you two talk for a second. At which point we find out that Faith is leaving London, okay? And it's not personal, Faith loves Angel. He's always like ride or die, right there for her. But the thing is, she lets people's agendas and people's fights become her own, and she spent so much time trying to reel Angel in and then help him out that she lost, like, what she wanted. She lost things that were important to her, her slayers. Like, look what happened to Nadira. She was so wrapped up in helping Angel with this whole, like, cray, that she really put Nadira in danger by not being there for her. And these things that mattered to her, she kind of just let get away from her. And she needs to take some time and deal with herself for a while. And we find out that apparently Kennedy had earlier extended an invitation to Faith to come and join Deep Scan. And so she wants to, like, dip her toes in there and see what that's all about, because it pays well and she'll get to go all over the world and really have some time just to herself to figure out what's important to Faith. You know, there's no hard feelings. Like, these characters care about each other and they respect each other, and so everything's gonna be okay. And they have an emotional hugging it out session. So Giles tells Faith that he wants to go with her when she goes to America to Deep Scan, because basically, you know, like, his old life was here, and it doesn't make sense for him to be in this young body in this place that he just doesn't belong anymore. He needs to figure out, you know, his new life, and he just wants to get away from Sophronia and Lavinia, really. He says he also needs to do the things that are important to him, and the place where he felt like he was at his best service was when he was with Buffy, of course, Buffy. So Faith is like, oh, great, sure. Because, you know, she just spent all this time trying to bring Giles back to life, and now he wants to drop her like a bad habit. She's like, okay, whatever, like, let's just blow this popsicle stand as quickly as possible, okay? So then we get a little back and forth between Giles and Angel about Buffy, and how the last time Buffy saw Angel was when, you know, she killed Giles, and Giles is like, I'll try and smooth over those edges for you when I see Buffy, and Angel's like, cool, maybe. So Angel and Giles are talking back and forth about how, you know, life is about these small victories, and Angel's really about the small victories, but, you know, he keeps involving himself in these big battles, and the kind of balance that you do have to find between that. And, like, they're talking about everything that's going on here. This place, it's been infected with this magic, and now they're actually already calling it Magic Town, and Giles wants to know what Angel's going to do now, and Angel wants to protect this place because there are people who are going to need help with this transformation that they've gone through, and there are also people who will go through this transformation and try to exploit people. And so he is going to stay and try and be the protector of this little magic town. And that's where we end Angel and Faith Season 9. Oh, you guys, Angel and Faith Season 9 is so good, but I have to say, I feel like we wrapped up a little quickly. Like, honestly, it's a little quick wrap up. It all works. Like, it all works, and if you go back, everything really does pay off, but you know, it's just, I guess because Angel and Faith is so good, and Angel and Faith Season 9 in particular is really, I feel like, the most coherent and cohesive Buffyverse story that we've gotten in the comics. I feel like everything really works for it. It's in its own sphere. We get a little bit of crossover between the two books and, you know, how they relate to Buffy's world, but really, it's about just Angel and Faith and Giles, and that dynamic between the three, and it's about kind of, you know, where do we go from here? How do you start your life over? Kind of literally. And we get that with Angel, we get that with Faith, and we get that, like, very literally with Giles. And overall, the season really works. This issue, again, I feel like it wraps up, and Whistler does a lot of, like, preachy speechifying that one would equate with, like, Season 7 Buffy, but it's really fine because it is all about this balance. Like, Angel and Faith are characters who are constantly trying to find some semblance of balance within themselves and within the world, you know what I mean? And so, for Whistler to sit here and talk about the balance all season long and then realize that he himself was not balanced and that's why he was going cray, trying to, like, kill the world and stuff like this, it makes a lot of sense. And I like it for the Angel character because Angel really did look up to Whistler. Whistler came along and handed him a new lease on life. I mean, really, the Gypsies did that, like, way long before, but it took somebody coming along and saying, you can be better. And so Angel looks at Whistler as this kind of hope that he can be better, right? And so for Whistler to be the one who's going cray, it creates a really, like, interesting dichotomy because Angel doesn't want to see Whistler die. He wants to see Whistler being redeemed because Whistler's the one who told him that he could have redemption. And so I really like what Whistler does overall, even if, again, it does get wrapped up pretty quickly. Faith saying that she's leaving is kind of scary. Like, obviously, if you're a fan of the channel, then you know that Angel and Faith do get reunited in season 10, but it takes a minute to get united, okay? Like, I think it's actually called United, okay? But it is a really good and brave move for Faith to want to step away from Angel and really decide that she does need to figure out her own life, because she is just jumping on to every bandwagon she comes across, you know? Jump onto the Slayer bandwagon, jump onto the Mayor bandwagon, jump into jail, like, jump onto the, you know, let's defeat the first evil bandwagon, and now she's stuck in Giles's resurrection plot, right? And so she's let Angel kind of like warp her world, where when we find her at the beginning of season 9, she was very much like doing her own thing. She was with Nadira and the other Slayers, trying to be like social worker to the Slayers like she was trying to do in season 8, and that completely gets derailed by the time we get done with Family Reunion. Like, everything from that point on is like, bring Giles back to life, bring Giles back to life. And that is the point of Angel's story, but it shouldn't have to be the point of Faith's story. And I really like that they take this issue to underline that fact and let Faith realize that she can't just keep like going and hanging on to everybody else's ideals and responsibilities. And you know, this really isn't Angel's responsibility. It kind of is, but it's not. It's life and death, whatever. But I like for Faith that she is able to recognize her own flaws and the fact that she should have been paying more attention to the things that she herself cared about, rather than just trying to look out for Angel because he looked out for her when it was really important for her, right? And so it's a big growing up moment for Faith. Giles, Giles, you really stepped in it. I'm sorry, but maybe we could have waited a little while before you broke it to Faith that, hey, you were so much more happy with Buffy. Like, come on, guy. I like Giles. Again, I like that he's admitting that he knows where his place in the world is, and it's not here. It's with Buffy. She really needs him. He loves her, you know? That's his little girl. That's his Slayer. She's the number one son, as Faith points out at the end of season 8. So, it kind of sucks for Faith, honestly. Like, it kind of like makes Giles look like a super dick, but again, he's just doing exactly what Faith is trying to do for herself. He's saying, this is my truth, you don't have to like it, but I can't stay here. Like, this isn't where I belong. I belong with Buffy. And I really love Kid Giles over on Buffy season 10, so that's great for me. And Sophronia and Lavinia, oh, I love these bitches. These bitches, I swear, I've missed them so much. I love Sophronia and Lavinia, and like, even Angel can't help but laugh about it. He's just like, ugh, these bitches. I love these bitches. They're hilarious. They're like, oh, we're so selfless. Don't you know, girl? Sophronia and Lavinia are just like, my life. And the really interesting thing that Angel and Faith season 9 does is they have this through line of Whistler, Pearl, and Nash, and the craziness. Oh yeah, let's talk about Nadira. So Nadira, she of course comes around to the idea that, oh yeah, going after revenge and just kind of living in this slay happy, let's kill everybody who did me wrong is not like the most fun and healthy way to deal with your problems. Sure, like, Pearl and Nash are super dangerous and crazy and scary, and it's great that she killed Nash. Like, it's super great. But, look at what it cost her. She was so filled with rage and revenge, and it really cost her. And, I won't get into spoilers with Nadira, but, she does kind of eventually find that peace within herself, which is great for her. But it took her reaching this rock bottom point that she is at in the finale of Angel and Faith season 9 to really kind of steer her again onto her own path of finding her balance, and that's really important for the character. And I think Nadira is just a really interesting part of the Buffyverse comics, the canonical ones, because she is, and we'll talk about this more later, but she is the product of all of the different forces at work in the Buffyverse. she would not be a Slayer were it not for Buffy, and she would not be so revenge happy if not for Angel. And all of the circumstances that Buffy and Angel together create, we find that Nadira is a victim of them, and not necessarily a victim, but definitely a product of them. And she is, she's kind of like the real child of the Buffyverse, and we'll get into that more when I talk about Nadira post season 10 wrap up, okay? But yeah, like I was saying, what we get through Angel and Faith season 9 is basically just leading us to this Magic Town idea. And what Magic Town allows for us to do is not only have Angel and Faith's book be in a completely different location, but it changes the rules that we're playing with when it comes to Angel and Faith versus Buffy. Because, you know, Buffy, she's always got her demons and stuff and all this good, but we have in Angel and Faith these people who have been transformed into demons, and they aren't necessarily evil, and they are at times afraid of themselves, which is great for Angel and Faith because these characters are afraid of themselves. And the whole Magic Town idea is really, really great for the next season of Angel and Faith. And there's a lot more to be said about the season, but of course I've got my season 9 wrap-up videos coming up after I finish Buffy the Core Part 5 next time. So please, everybody, let me know what you thought of this issue in the comment section down below. I'm Preston L. Young. I hope you're having a great 2016 so far, everybody. You can come right back here to the Buffington Post anytime for Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews, Angel and Faith reviews, Buffyverse discussions on the other Slayers, and more. I've got one more issue of Season 9, and then we're going to go into the Season 9 wrap-up videos, and I'm going to start doing the first 5 or 6 issues of Angel and Faith and Buffy Season 10, so that everything will be there for you. That's pretty much all I've got for today. Have a great day today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
I wanted to walk through the empty streets and feel something constant under my feet, but all the news reports recommended that I stay indoors, because the air outside will make ourselves divided at an alarming rate, until our shells simply cannot hold all our insides in, and that's when we'll explode. And it won't be a pretty sight, and we'll become silhouettes when our bodies finally go.
Hey, you still here after the song. Wow, thanks. So for this one, I had 2 songs that I wanted to use, and of course you just saw the Postal Service, but I had another one that I wanted to use, so, yeah.
Now, usually I don't do this, but, go ahead and break them off with a little previews of the remix.
One thing leads to another. You made an island of me. And I could liken you to a chemical, the way you made me compound to compound. But I'm a chemical too inevitable, you and me wouldn't mix. And I could liken you to a lot of things, but I always come around, 'cause in the end, I'm a sensible girl. I know the fiction of the facts, but you are such a super guy till the second you get away from me. Real life a wishing well and a bolt of electricity. But we can still support each other. All we gotta do is support each other. Nothing wrong when a song ends in a minor key. Nothing wrong when a song ends in a minor key. Nothing wrong when a song ends in a minor key. Nothing wrong when a song ends in a minor key.
So as Angel is going to meet up with Giles and Faith, he sees that Lavinia and Sophronia
My BFF Joe 730.